Bernie Sanders has outraised every single Democratic contender in the primaries. And that's unsurprising when you consider his popularity, when you consider the number of his small dollar donors. And so just to give you some numbers, he has raised a whopping $34.5 million in the fourth quarter of 2019. Again, he outraised every other candidate. And he talks about it a little bit in this next clip. Take a look.
As of yesterday, which was the FEC filing deadline, we have received over 5 million contributions from well over 1.2 million people all across this country. And you know what? That is more contributions from more people than any candidate, not just in this campaign, but any candidate in the history of American politics. And when we talk about the political revolution, we're talking about two basic concepts. Number one, an agenda that speaks to the needs of working families and is prepared to take on the greed and corruption of the corporate elite. And that's Wall Street and the insurance companies, the drug companies, fossil fuel industry, military industrial complex, prison industrial complex.
So, okay, that video is everything about Bernie Sanders.
So 100%. Okay. No glitz, no glam. His jacket's a little dirty.
Okay.
I got things to do, okay? I'm gonna tell you about how we're killing it. Small dollar donors, F the corporate world, we're coming for them.
He didn't even say it that way. He just said it's so calm. So like, in a second, we're gonna show you a mainstream media person saying that Bernie Sanders is not about the policies. People like him for other reasons. What other reasons? Okay, like Julian Castro, even in the video announcing he's dropping out, and we like Julian Castro, but he's smiling. It's a wonderfully produced video. I'm dropping out, right?
Yeah.
Bernie's like, whatever. I broke a record. There's a giant tire next to me. I'm accidentally covering up the URL of my website that's on the bus. Right? Like, you see what I'm saying?
I love him because he's got stuff to do, right? It's not about, like, look, we had a long conversation about the Julian Castro story. You should watch it. This is not indicative of the entire conversation, but like, yeah, the victorious music in the background, like, there's none of that with Bernie. It's about the people, it's about the policies, it's about fighting for the right reasons, and that's why we love him.
Yeah, guys, I think what's being understated in this video, as well as certainly in all the media, is he broke a record. Yeah. He broke a record of number of donations for any presidential candidate up to this point before the primary start. I mean, by a lot, okay?
But is he electable, Cenk?
I know, how could he have 5 million donations from 1.2 million different people in the country? And we're having a conversation about whether he's electable as opposed to whether he's gonna crush everything in his path. And the idea that it's not even an idea, it's a propaganda that the corporate media tells you is, well, we don't know if independents and centrists will support a guy who's for the little guy and for the average American worker. I mean, that's probably not gonna work.
So who are you gonna support, Trump?
But on the other hand, Joe Biden, who loves to take money from corporate America, I bet the independents love him. And they say it with a straight face and they 100% mean it. It is unbelievable. So as you know, they're gonna get into the fundraising numbers of everybody. We're gonna explain that in a second. But overall, the context has been like, oh yeah, okay, I guess Bernie did well too. But okay, now let's get back to how well Buttigieg did.
No, I mean, look, I actually wouldn't mind if that was the way that it were covered, but that is not the way the story is covered. They just bury the lead. A lot of headlines don't even mention how much money Bernie has raised and how he's beaten every other candidate in the field.
It's a record. What else do you want from the guy? And he's breaking his own record.
Right.
All right, but let's give everybody's numbers.
Sure, so coming in at, let me just remind you, Bernie raised $34.5 million in the fourth quarter of 2019. At the same period, you have Buttigieg coming in second at 24.7 million, and then Biden is third with 22.7 million, and then Yang comes in fourth at 16.5 million. Now I want to be clear, Warren hasn't released her numbers yet, so we don't know where she stands. My guess is she did not beat Bernie Sanders, because if that were the case, she would have put that out already.
No, she's even indicated she's not gonna reach the numbers she had in the last quarter where she did really well. So she's gonna come in around the Biden-Buttigieg numbers, maybe even a little lower and above Yang. So that's what it looks like right now. Look, and let's be fair about a couple of other amazing stories out of that. Okay, so one is Biden's not doing as well as Buttigieg, which is weird. So, and he did better this time around than in the last quarter, but he has had trouble raising money in the context of presidential races and as the leader in the national polling, right? So one important story you get out of that is, do the donors see Biden and think there's something wrong here?
100%.
Right? So that's a big story that people aren't really talking about. They're talking about his donors and how he's not raising enough money. To be fair, they are talking about that, right? But they're not talking about why. What is it that is freaking out the donors that see him up close and in person, right? But other stories that are positive are Buttigieg did raise a lot of money for a mayor of a tiny little town in the middle of the country that wasn't involved in politics. That is a gigantic amount of money he raised. And remember, he didn't run for president before like Bernie Sanders did. He didn't have the donors that Elizabeth Warren had as a senator. So it's fair to point that out. It's also fair to point out that a lot of his donors are from wine caves.
Yes.
Right, and they're big bundlers. And by the way, people mention bundlers and then give their names without giving the context of why they're bundling. A lot of those folks are lobbyists and they represent certain industries. I mean, we're gonna get to a comical complaint about how Bernie Sanders' 1.2 million donors are too white. Okay, did you see the picture in the wine cave? But yet there's not much discussion about, hey, are the corporate bundlers too white, right? I mean, how's that for irony? But give credit where credit is due. Buttigieg is apparently amazing at raising money from rich folks, and now some not rich folks as well. Full context. And finally, the other amazing number is Yang's. Oh my God, out of nowhere, Andrew Yang, dismissed by all the national media forever and ever and ever, derided throughout even when he was doing well, $16.5 million without ever being in politics. How the hell did he do that? That should be a story in and of itself where everybody be like, holy cow, Yang raises $16.5 million, and I haven't seen that story almost anywhere.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's almost as if the corporate press ignoring a candidate works in the candidate's favor. Right, because they did dismiss Yang, but he persisted, and he does bring interesting ideas to the table. So I think this is a fascinating story. I do have one other thing to bring up though, because remember, Warren has made a political calculation that we've talked about on this show before. She's moved a little away from some of the hardcore progressive policies like Medicare for All. Her transition plan for Medicare for All is a disaster. We've talked about that in great detail. And I think that political calculation was to attract some of the Obama administration officials who she wanted endorsements from. And hundreds of them have decided to endorse Warren. But it apparently hasn't worked to her favor because she's continuously sliding in the polls. And as we can tell from this story about fundraising, she's not raising as much money as she did previously when she was really pushing for these progressive proposals. Look, this isn't to knock Warren, this is more about providing even more evidence that progressive policies are popular. They're popular. So if you think that it's a good political strategy to move away from those policies, I think we have yet another example of how that's not the case.
100%. And look, that's why we said, I don't know, who's advising her and why she's gone in this direction. But so what if you have 200 Obama officials supporting you? What does that get you? Does it get you more money? Obviously it didn't. Does it get you higher numbers in the polling, which is the most important thing in terms of when you actually go to the election? Are you gonna get more votes or not? No, it's hurt you. So I don't know who convinced her that, oh my God, not Obama, but Obama administration officials. If you get more people in the establishment to back you, it'll work out great for you. How's that working out? So if you're in the Warren camp, be careful about the next set of advice those guys give you.
Thanks for watching TYT. What if you could take control of your internet experience for the price of a cup of coffee a month? Well, if you head to nordvpn.com/TYT, you'll be able to connect to up to 6 devices to NordVPN's military-grade encryption for $349 a month. If you go now, they'll even throw in 4 free months and NordPass, the new password manager app. Go now.